Okay, so let's take a look at example number 2 on our opener, on our 8.7 notes from yesterday. We are going to use the MA method to fill in the blanks, or the MA method to factor this. Now, step 1 says to find the M and the A. How am I going to find the M? How do I find the M?
M would just multiply the first one and the last one.
What do you mean the first one and the last one?
10 and 6.
10 and 6. Now, it's just your coefficient, so it's the numbers without the variable. So we're going to multiply 10 times 6. And what do we get when we take 10 times 6?
60.
60. And then our A is what?
The middle one, so 19.
The second coefficient, the 19. Okay, now this is where Monday's lesson comes into play. What two numbers can you multiply together to get 19 multiply together to get 60 and add those same two numbers together to get 19? So how am I going to determine what those numbers are? What do I have to start finding?
Found it.
How do I get that started though? What do I have to start doing?
Oh, okay, so do you want me to answer or do you want
Sure.
me to answer? Okay, so you gotta do the factors.
Of 60, good. So 1 times 60 is 60. If I add those together, will I get 19?
No.
Nope, that doesn't work. Okay, 2 times what equals 60?
30.
If I add those together, will I get 19?
Nope.
That doesn't work. Okay, then my next factor of 60 is 3 and
20.
if I add those together, will I get 19?
Nope.
Okay, can I take 4 times something to get 60?
Yep.
What?
4 times 15.
4 times 15. If I add those two numbers together, will I get 19?
Yep.
There it is.
And here's the trick. We did this one yesterday.
We didn't do this one yesterday. We did one similar to this. The one we did yesterday was 3 and 20.
Yeah, but the factor tree is the same, or whatever that seems called.
But we had to add more, yeah. Okay, so we now have completed step 1 and step 2 in our notes. So now we need to look at step 3. Riley, what does step 3 tell me to do? Don't tell me you don't know. You have the notes down.
Write the areas in each of the boxes.
Okay. What specifically do I do with the 4 and 15? Where do I place that? Did you have that in your notes?
In the boxes.
Which boxes though?
The one in the middle.
Show me. Show me what you're talking about.
I don't know
You don't know what you're talking about?
that. No.
That's okay, it's new. Can somebody help him out? Maddie?
Put the 4 in the bottom left box.
Okay.
And 15 in the top right box.
Okay. Now what if I want to put the 4 in the top right and the 15 in the bottom left? Is that okay?
Doesn't matter.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. Now, 4 and 15, if you add them together, it equals this 19 right here, right? That's that area split into 2. What variable do these two terms have to have? What term does the 4 and 15 have to match that 19? Yeah, an F. So we're going to just stick an F with it. All right, and then as Riley said, we're going to fill out the area and the rest of the area model as well. So what's my first area? What's my first area that I put in? Yeah, 10F squared. And then what's my last area? 6. Good. Now we move to step 4. Jenna, what does step 4 tell me to do?
Factor the top row of rectangles using the greatest common factor.
Okay, so we're going to take this top row, which is 10F squared, and 15F, and we're going to find the greatest common factor of them.
Do we have a quiz on this?
Hmm?
Do we have a quiz on this?
No, Friday.
So what quiz do we have today?
It's just over MA. Okay, what two numbers can I multiply together to get 10?
10. Okay, so 2 and 5.
2 and 5, and what about for 15?
3 and 5. Oh, okay.
Yeah. Okay, just looking, what number do they share?
5.
Okay, so the greatest common factor is going to be 5. And then do they share a variable? F. So that's the greatest common factor of my top row. So what does that represent on my area model for the top row?
Top row.
What does it represent? The top row is what? Not length. Height. Yeah, so 5F. So now, because I have the height and the total area, I can find the length. So I'm going to put in 5F. So I'm only worrying about the top row right now. So the height times something to get my total area. So now I'm ready to find the length. So 5F times what equals 10F squared?
2F.
So that becomes my length. Now, if this is my length of the top of my rectangle, do you also think it's going to be the length below it? Are they the same? Yeah, so I'm going to bring that length on down. And remember, my length goes second. All right? Then I think to myself, 5F times what gets me to 15F? 3. If that's my length up above, it's also going to be my length where?
Bottom.
Bottom, so I'm going to bring that on down. So what information do I not have about the bottom row?
Height.
The height. So now I got to figure out the height. What times 2F equals 4F?
2.
Now my height has to be the same for both rectangles. So does 2 times 3 equal 6?
Yep.
Yeah, so then that works. So my height is 2. Okay, almost finished here. Now I need to plug in my final answers. What goes in the first set of parentheses? What does that first set of parentheses represent? What do we always put down first? Say it again, Maddie. The 5F, because we're going to do our height. So 5F plus times the length, which is plus, there you go. Now, you know that's the height and the length because they have parentheses around it, okay? Is it coming back to you a little bit from yesterday? Do we all have this down? Okay, Logan, you have it? Okay, let's take a look at the last example. Now, this example is the exact same thing that we just did. The only thing different is that I put the area first instead of leaving you the space to put the height times length first. It's the same steps. We're just going to write our answer behind what we're factoring instead of in front of what we're factoring. Okay? So, let's look at our steps. Step 1. What's step 1 tell me to do, Logan?
Determine the M and
Okay, so how do we determine the M? Hold your notes up.
What?
Hold your notes up so I can see them. Yeah, you have it there. M equals what? What'd you put for M? First coefficient.
I put
I'm reading it. You have it. Look at step 1 on your notes. It says determine the M and A. And then it says M equals what?
the first coefficient.
And what else?
The third one.
What do I do with these two?
M equals 4.
So your first coefficient and your third coefficient, what do I do with those? What does M stand for? Multiply. So multiply that first coefficient, third coefficient. What do you get? Yeah, 8. Okay, now how do you find your A?
2.
No, your A is not going to be your 2. Your A is going to be the 9, your second coefficient. Good. Okay, so that's step 1. So you can kind of check that off of your step list. Step 2, determine your M and A. So Riley, this is what your quiz is going to be over today. So I'm going to give you the M and the A, and then you have to tell me what you can multiply to get the M and add to get the A. Yeah, just like that. Okay, so what can I multiply together to get 8? and add together to get 9. So to determine that information, I'm going to have to find the factors of 8. So Jenna, what are the factors of 8?
1, 8, 2, 4.
Oh, stop right there. 1 times 8 equals 8. If I add them together, what do I get?
4, 8. Should be 8, 2.
So if I take 1 times 8, I get 8. And if I add them together, I get 9. So I can stop right there. I don't need to keep finding the factors once I have the answer. So there's step 2 of our notes. Done. Now I'm ready to go to step 3 of my notes. Danny, what's step 3 say to do?
Write areas in each of the boxes using the numbers from step 2 for the top right and bottom left.
Okay, what do you want me to put in the top right box?
For G2
Oh, you want me to put that first?
in the top box. Is that correct?
Well, let's put these where they belong first. Where do these go?
1 and 8 go on the top, 8 and 1 on the bottom.
Okay, so what do you want?
8,
You want 8 up here?
yeah,
Okay.
and then 1 there, and then they both have the word G.
Perfect. Okay. And then what's the area of my first rectangle here then?
4G squared
Is that what you're starting with? Okay. And then your last area?
is 2.
Perfect. All right. Step 3's done. Step 4, Ben. Bless you.
We put the 4G squared over there to the left, and put the 8G right next to
Why? What am I doing with it?
the factor tree.
So I'm finding the what of these two terms?
Greatest common factor.
Okay.
aka the height.
Which would be the height. Very good. Okay.
2 and 2 for 4G squared. And 2 and 4. And 2 and 2.
Okay. Now these have a little bit more numbers, so I'm going to go ahead and list them out. So what do they share?
2 2s. Do equal 4
So my greatest common factor
is 4G.
is 4. And then you look at the variables, and it's going to be G. And you said my greatest common factor, once I found it for the top row, that does in fact represent my height. Okay, I'm going to give you guys a minute to get that down in case I'm going a little fast.
So we're going to start with C today?
Nope, tomorrow.
Oh.
I messed up. I think I told you guys the wrong stuff yesterday.
Well, then what are we doing today?
It's up on the board. The board was actually right. Okay, now I am ready to do the last step, basically, which is fill in the rest of my area model. So if I know the height and the total area, what can I now tell about my top row? The length. So 4G times what is going to get me to the area?
1G.
1G. So that becomes the length at the top. What I do, as soon as I get the length for the top, I go ahead and bring it on down because the length for the bottom is going to be the exact same. And my length always goes second. Okay? Then I find 4G times what gets me to 8G.
2.
Okay? If that's going to be the length for the top, it's also going to be the length for the bottom. So I bring it down. So what am I missing on the bottom? What don't I have?
You don't have the second height,
I don't have the second height. So find it.
but it's only, can I say it?
Yeah.
Uno. aka 1.
What?
1.
No, I disagree. Do you agree? I agree. So 1 times 1G is 1. If I take 1 times 2, does that equal 2? So my height is what?
1.
1. Now, you guys get to write your final answer. This time I did not provide you the setup of how you're going to write your final answer. Now, this is the area. This represents area. We basically just factored this down, the area, into the height and the length. So area equals height. What's my height?
4G plus 1.
Times my length. So if I'm going to take 4G plus 1 times my length. What needs to be around it?
Parentheses.
Okay, and then what needs to be around my length?
Parentheses.
And it's
1G plus 2.
one box. So there's your final answer.
So we gotta do, was